Welcome to the Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
My name is Maddie.
And I'm Johnny. Hi.
And we are
the Beat Buds. That was completely unrehearsed. Yeah.
We are like an interactive children's music duo.
Yeah.
Right? Where we do classes and birthday parties and large scale events. And obviously we're musicians, so we write records and stuff like that. But the idea is that we want to get kids involved in music at an early age.
Yeah.
And we spend our time doing that.
Yeah, really focus on writing family music rather than just kids music, and writing music that families can really enjoy together. Really focus on writing enriching music that isn't just centered around children, but rather the whole family. This is a really, really long answer to this question because we have a very long history.
Right.
So we try to tell it the shortest way possible, but there's really no really short way to tell it. Matt and I have known each other since we were 6 years old.
Yeah.
Our musical roots go back nearly that far. We started playing music together and exploring music together, I mean, almost from that age. I think I started playing guitar around that age. And then shortly after that, Matt chose drums. We started jamming in basements together, you know, cover songs. And then shortly after that, writing music together.
Musical families we come from where the music was always playing. So it was just a natural thing for us.
Yeah. Soon after, you know, we found ourselves as teenagers playing, you know, some of the most renowned venues in the world on the Sunset Strip here in LA, playing, you know, the Roxy and the Whiskey, teenagers playing at the House of Blues on Sunset Boulevard. And, you know, then we started touring the whole country together.
Yeah.
You know, cut to a time in our lives where Matt married his high school sweetheart, could no longer really tour as excessively as the band was touring at that time, which was 250 dates a year. And really had to, you know, settle into family life.
It's difficult. It's difficult to continue on that way, you know, when you have personal goals, and we both have similar goals, but just, you know, some band members can last longer than others.
Right. And so, you know, with that said, the band continued, and so did our friendship. But we just no longer played music together, but our friendship never faded. And with that said, Matt was working, and he experienced this horrific back injury at work, and he was rehabbing really close to the studio and my home studio where I do a lot of my work. And because our friendship always maintained throughout, he was always my musical confidant through writing, just through, you know, advice, whatever it was. And he'd come by, he'd be with his daughter often, and he'd come by and offer me, you know, advice, and we'd talk. He was also doing a lot of mommy and me classes and things like that with his daughter.
It was a time where I was rehabbing and I had to switch jobs. I was looking for a new direction, and I was playing Mr. Mom to my then 6 or 8 month old. And I was doing all those things that you only hear generally about moms doing. And I was going to those mommy and me classes. I was going to those gym classes. I was experiencing the world of mommy, if you will. And one of them was a series of music classes, and they gave us a CD. And while I was enjoying the camaraderie between my child and I was interested in this genre to some extent. So I brought it over to Johnny's house, which was a block away, and showed it to Johnny, and he was less than satisfied.
I was less than satisfied, yeah. I also had nephews that were right around the age of his daughter, a little bit older, and my nephews were also over often in the studio. And when Matt showed me that CD, my sister said, yeah, my kids are in a music class too. I was like, show me that CD. And because at the time CDs were a thing. My sister showed me that CD, and I was less than satisfied with that CD too. And I was like, you know, regardless of how the kids feel about this music, I said, well, what's it doing for you guys as parents, you know?
Yeah.
They were less than satisfied.
It's hard because you just don't assume, you assume that there's going to be a barrier between what your child likes and what you like. You just assume that naturally, and you accept it. And the fact is that we don't need to accept that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to try our hand at seeing what we could do, you know, just without being personally immersed in the children's music genre of like knowing bands in the genre. We just wanted to just blindly open up the Pro Tools, open up our studio, and try songs and just see what came out in a very organic form, which is a beautiful thing.
Right. And this was not the beat buds. This
No.
was not a focused, like, let's try our hand at this. This was just, let's make music for your daughter and for my nephews.
I just wanted to listen in the car to something that I can enjoy with my kids and enjoy the drumming and enjoy the melodies and stuff like that and really rock out and have fun.
And at the same time, include them in the music we were making. So the kids were shaking shakers. They were recording on the microphones, and we were just having fun as a family, because Matt is family. I mean, we've had a friendship since we were 6 years old. You know, I'm Uncle Johnny to his daughters. He's Uncle Matty to my nephews, and now my son, right? Like, we are family. So we were making music for our family. That's it. That's all it was. There was no beat buds. There was no website. There was no nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So we made one song, and the kids loved it in the car. So next time we went to the rehab facility, he came over after again, and we made another song. And then we did it again, and we ended up having, I think, 4 or 5 songs, and slowly but surely, you know, Matt's wife said, burn me 5 CDs for my friends. My sister said, burn me 10 CDs for my friends. And the music started circulating around our communities. Now, being from LA, born and raised, we know a lot of people, and we've grown up here, and those CDs just started getting out there.
People had spent a lot of time watching Maddie and Johnny in the rock and roll clubs throughout their childhood. I mean, the parents now are, obviously, we're parents, they're our peers. So I think they were really rooting for us.
I think they were.
They were like, whoa, this is the new version of Maddie and Johnny.
Yeah.
You know, and it worked.
But again, there was really no direction in terms of like a business model or anything. It's just, they just really were enjoying what we were doing as well. So, you know, I was still playing in the band. I went overseas. The band was doing a lot of stuff overseas at that time. And I was gone for, I think, 6 or 8 weeks. And I came home, and at that time, I always put my phone on airplane mode when I was gone. And I came home, took my phone off airplane mode. I had probably 10 messages from this guy when I landed back in the U.S. saying, you know, someone offered us to play a birthday. I got to get back to him. Do you want to play at a birthday party? And I remember looking at my phone going, birthday party? I just got off stage playing festivals for like 10,000 people. I don't want to play at a birthday party, you know? But Matt was really thinking about what he was going to, you know, do next. You know, he wasn't working. He was coming off of this horrific back end injury. We were enjoying playing and making music together again, because he hadn't really done anything like musically for a really long time.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to be some sort of a career. It was just like, okay, whoa, I'm feeling creative. I'm feeling energized. Let's pursue this.
Right.
You know, regardless if it was the last birthday party I ever played.
Right.
You know, and that was the beautiful thing. So Johnny, I know it took some convincing.
It took a little bit of convincing, but I ended up doing it, and we figured out how to take these songs that were really produced and slick. You know, I always use that word from a production standpoint. These are really slick sounding songs that we produced with instrumentation and everything else, and we figured out how to, as a 2-man, because we definitely didn't want to do this as like a band. We wanted to keep it as a 2-man, and how to present them in a way that it didn't sound less than, right?
Sure.
And I think all of our years as musicians and experience playing together for so many years, we really knew how to make that really translate from a musical perspective.
Yeah.
And we went in that birthday party, and we rocked it.
Yeah.
We rocked it.
Yeah, the idea for the birthday party really was just, it came about of, you know, us thinking, okay, we're 2 guys. We can't possibly, like Johnny said, we can't possibly recreate what's on that CD because we sat in our studio and did layers and layers and layers. So how are we going to make this sound amazing? And we came to the conclusion together, like, I think what we have to do is that we have to make the kids the 3rd member of the band.
Right.
We got to get them really involved in a way like they've never experienced before. And so what we did was we brought out instruments for the kids to play on each song. So they essentially completed our band, making it sound full, making them feel a part of, making us feel a part of them, an intimacy, a connection. And that's where really the interactive portion started, which I think really the parents saw, were like, yes, my kid is like, this is a wholesome thing. It's not the iPad. It's not video games. I mean, they're earlier than video games, but it's real, and they're enjoying this.
Yeah.
And they loved it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we loved it. And we're like, wow, this is perfect.
Yeah. And especially for the birthday child who had a real connection with the music already, which is why we were invited to play that birthday to begin with, is because that child had a real connection with the music itself to begin with. So they loved it. And, you know, by the time we packed up our gear from that birthday party, we had, I think, 3 or 4 parents asking us if we could play their kid's birthday party. We didn't even have an album or anything like that.
Or a website,
you know?
or it was just like, okay, what's your phone number?
Yeah, or business cards. I mean, we didn't have anything, you know.
But pretty quickly, our experience in putting together bands and things like that, we knew some of the basic things that we needed to do in order to get this up off the ground. Now, we weren't going to do it like we weren't going to get a band going where we're going to rehearse guys all the time and start doing all this stuff. It was just going to be a duo, Johnny and I, for starters. But we knew what to do to just get it to some basic level to be able to accept some business. So we did it.
Yeah.
Right.
We made it happen. We got a website up. We finished an album. We made it happen really quickly. I think it really speaks to our relationship. It speaks to our experience. It speaks to the fact that, you know, we always talk about everything that we've done in our lives as musicians and as friends has really kind of led to this point. You know, I think that, you know, years of learning how to play music and figuring out what we're doing and recording, and, you know, in the early years before we were able to get the band signed and off the road, and having anyone listen to our albums and saying, well, what if no one's going to sign our band, then we're going to learn how to record our own albums and get into the studio and buy our own gear and doing that stuff, and learning how to engineer our own albums and produce our own records and be multi-instrumental and not just, I play several instruments, so does Matt, and, you know, not have to rely on other people to record, engineer, play on our albums or pay other musicians. To be all those things that we did really enabled us to, when we wanted to get this thing off the ground as a duo, just finish it, put it together, go out there and do it. And we did. Yeah. And we did it quickly, and we were ready. You know, we had a product, we had a website, we had a name, and now we were ready. We were ready to go. And the Beat Buds was born. Yeah. And we were out there, and quickly it turned from
it became a business.
A few birthday parties, you know, peppered here and there on the weekends, to completely booked, you know, doing 3 or 4 birthdays on a Saturday, 3 or 4 on a Sunday, and we couldn't do anymore. Mm-hmm. And eventually it got to the point where we said to each other, you know, he's a drummer, I'm a guitar player, and all we can do is, you know, 6 to 8 parties on a weekend. Well, why don't you go with a guitar player, right? And I'll go with a drummer, and now we can do, you know, 12 plus.
Now we can double it up,
right?
So we got more guys to expand.
Right, and we really trained those guys, and we taught them the best we could to, because like I said, you know, Matt and I have a certain experience together and charisma, and we banter and play off of each other in a certain way. So we really had to bring those other guys up to speed in a way that the product was not lacking, you know? Right. And we did that. And so now we had, you know, 2 teams of Beat Buds out there, and we got this product out to a point where we were doing, you know, upwards of, I think it was 80 prior to COVID, 80 to 100 shows a month between all of our different teams that were out there.
Yeah, and then it extended to weekly Mommy and Me classes, which was just a reoccurring thing, not even a birthday party. So, you know, and this was sometimes on the mom's request. Hey, look, we need a music class, and we're like, let's do it. Right. You know, I mean, they appreciated our interactive approach. And it worked. And then special events, and then doing mommy events where the stroller companies are next to you, the honest companies next to you, you know, booths, and we're promoting, and then we have our own large scale event, which called the Beat Bash, which now takes all of our guys together, and we go all up on stage and present the songs in the way that they're on the CD.
Yeah, 8-piece band. Oh, it's that's my favorite.
The ultimate children's music experience.
1,500 kids in a theater
with instruments in their hands. It's pretty remarkable.
Greatest.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty much how we started.
Yeah.
One piece at a time. It was never a plan. Okay, a birthday party, right? Oh, like, why would I play a birthday party? But, like, nobody realized how difficult a birthday party really is. Not in any state of mind to experience whatever you're going to give them and turn them around and make them believers right then and there. So you got to capture them from the first moment. You're a rock band, you play in a club, sure, you walk in the club, you get a drink, you're starting to warm yourself up for the music experience that's going to happen on the stage in front of you. But when we do a birthday party, nothing's going on. From the first note, we got to attract their attention and get them rocking. Yeah. So it's very challenging, and a lot of musicians that we hire, some don't make the cut. Like, a lot of people think children's music, oh, it's like not that important, whatever, but it is difficult.
Oh yeah, we hire a lot of guys that are phenomenal musicians that don't end up being Beat Buds for very long, because it takes a lot more than being a phenomenal musician to really make this work and to play for kids.
How did it come up? Look, I don't know. It wasn't hours of writing different options. It just came to me. Yeah. It just came to me in the middle of the night. It just came to me in the middle of the night. Look, I'm a drummer, beat, and we're buds. Yeah. I mean, it's not more complicated than that. Yeah. It's just, that's exactly what we do, right? And the names seem to be in some way, it opened itself up to to everybody in a way. Like, the beat is for everybody. We all feel the beat. Our heart beats. We can instinctually feel the beat. Buds, everybody's got buds. Everybody's got friends. It's such a universal term. And I knew that at the moment, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and going to Network Solutions and buying the domain name, like at the drop of a hat, and then telling Jonathan.
Yeah, and when he told me, I was like, oh, that's it. Yeah, I was like, it wasn't like, let's think about this. You know, I've got something else. You know, I was like, that's it.
Yeah, just like the whole story. It just was meant to be, you know.
And even with the logo, we brought on a friend of ours who kind of does tattoos and different things like that, and we asked him to work on the logo for us, and we said we'd love to have our faces on the logo and things like that, and we sent it off. He sent us back a rendition, and you know, we've done lots of things with bands and things with different graphic design artists, and
well, it's a back and forth game. Oh,
forever, you know, fix this, change this, change that. I mean, he sent us something, and we said, "That's it."
Yeah, I mean, people think like that maybe that I had this font in my mind when I thought of the name.
Yeah.
But like I didn't. I had just a word, and then this came, and I was like, "That is the font. That is the look. That is it."
Yeah.
And so it's not more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Look, that was always the plan. I mean, a lot of times I doubted that plan, but you know, the first time I ever set foot in a rock club, at one of the clubs John was talking about at the Whiskey, when I was playing drums up on stage, and the feeling of it, the experience, the audience, the energy, the support coming from the audience, my desire to win them over was something that I got it once, I got the bug, and it never died. It never died. Maybe I wasn't always pursuing it, you know, throughout my journey, but it was always there, and it's always in listening to music, and and maybe it was going over to John's house while he was still doing the stuff and just trying to chime in some way. It was always there.
Yeah, and I think, you know, much to my parents and family's chagrin, there was never a plan B for me. And I came from, and they're very supportive, don't get me wrong, but just to not have a plan B, I think that was kind of scary. I came from a very, very conservative family. I'm a mom in the medical field. My father, I never remember my dad without a suit and tie, ever. And my sister's a lawyer. And for me to have chosen a career in music and have no plan B, and I never had a plan B, I think that was just a little scary for them. And like I said, don't get me wrong, they were very, very supportive along the way. So
super supportive.
Wasn't that kind of a thing, but it was scary that I never had a plan B. But that was it. We got bit by that music bug very young, and I'll never forget that feeling of being on stage and playing in front of an audience and just saying to myself, this is it. This is all I want to do. And then, you know, being lucky enough to tour the country and then later on the world, and how that feels to get out there and tour and get that response from people. And I remember just being out there and seeing how you can touch lives through music. And I mean, I remember, you know, being in some Scandinavian country, you know, walking by myself on a day off on some cobblestone street and thinking to myself, I'm here because of music, regardless of, you know, how much money I would come home with or whatever else it was. Just thinking to myself, you know, I'm here because of music and just how wonderful that is.
Yeah, it's a lens that we operate under. We see everything through it. Yeah. So I don't know any other way, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was amazing. and especially when he was in the band and doing it with him, and, you know, to be doing that and experiencing that with your best friend. It was a
amazing family too. It's hard, right? I mean, like, you grow up playing with like your best friend, and you're a family, so there's this. It's extra comfortable than like, we're a little different than some other bands where, like, you know, we've been in a million of them, and there's guys that you've had, you know, in your band for a week and then they're fired or they have a drug addiction, you know, problem, you know. But we were a family the whole way, so like it never seemed uncomfortable in any way, you know. I mean, look, I mean, if people hold on a little longer, who knows what they could run into? Yeah. But most people can't.
I remember it wasn't, I don't even know if you know this, but I remember it wasn't not just even my parents. I remember going to my grandmother and saying to her, I got a business proposition for you. I must have been like 13 years old because I wanted to buy like a recording console, and saying to her, I need $5,000, but I'm going to record my friends' bands and I'm going to pay you that money back, you know? Right. And I ended up borrowing money from her to buy this recording console so that we could record our friends' bands.
Yeah. We did. We
did.
We recorded one band and then we recorded ourselves.
Yeah. I don't think I ever paid my grandmother back, but she never asked. Never asked.
Thanks to your grandma, we now have recording experience.
But that's what I mean about supportive families.
Right.
we've always been really private about the people that we performed for. There are parties that that we can't really hide because they've been televised and things like that. And those they're out there, so those are fine. But we've been on the Kardashian show, and we played for Kanye and Kim, so we don't exactly have to be private about that one.
No, that was cool. That was cool.
That was a pretty massive, awesome, mega birthday party. I remember when we were loading our gear in, they had a crane lifting a Ferris wheel into the backyard, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, look, I just remember. Look, if you really want to get into it, the special thing about a lot of those birthday parties and the Kardashian one was it's really cool when I can just get a chance to here's a tambourine, Kanye. Here's a tambourine, Kim.
Yeah.
And I'm in control.
Yeah.
And I'm almost normally they're the big deal, but now I'm in control.
Yeah.
And they're shaking tambourines, and I see the smiles coming out, and that really floats my boat. It's really cool.
And the coolest part is that they're, especially when you go through a child, and it doesn't matter if it's a celebrity or anybody else, or somebody who normally, what's an example? Some big muscle dude that normally you'd be intimidated by at a bar or something, right? When
tattoos you wouldn't want to even talk to.
Right, you go through the child, all of a sudden everybody's a softie. Celebrity, regular people, whoever it is, and they're involved and they're into it, and it's just the coolest experience ever. So it's a really, really neat thing. Really neat thing. And to see, and I know we're talking about celebrities and stuff, but with celebrities, just to see them get involved in it, and some celebrities that we've played for that we admire and we look up to, who are getting involved and dancing to our music, who shock us because they know the words to our songs. Mm-hmm. And are making requests of our own songs. That's the coolest. Yeah. Yeah, mine. We have a song called "Get Outside" and "Rock" on our third album, and it's my favorite because it's most like the stuff that we used to play in our rock band.
That's my favorite Beat Bud song.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, okay. I'd say so. That and the Planet song.
Yeah, but I love playing that because it's not unlike what we used to do when we used to rock out together on the old Sunset Strip. Yeah. But it's just more kid-centric in terms of the lyrical content and whatnot. But that gives us a chance to really from an energy standpoint, get out there and do what we used to do. I really like that.
Put our all our energy from the past into it.
Yeah.
My favorite song to play, I think, is "Sam the Garbage Man."
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite song to play, just because the way I see the kids' eyes light up when we play. Yeah. There's so many things to a song that can attract the kids that you just wouldn't normally think. Maybe it's a concept, maybe it's a word that we say, maybe it's just a sound of the way Johnny twangs his guitar in this one part. And that song seems to have some elements with the drum beat and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's all of it with that song.
Yeah.
Everything. That
can pique their interest, and that goes into a whole thing about writing children's music and stuff, and the different intricacies there are in order to attract that demographic, a really young demographic. But Sam the Garbage Man has it for me, performance-wise. And look, once again, an organic approach.
Yeah.
Where were we at? We were doing a class?
Yeah, we were doing a class, and they were involved in the class. We do these weekly reoccurring classes.
Like a Mommy and Me.
Right. And they were involved in the class, and I think the original host of the class, I think her child was sick for a couple weeks straight.
Yeah.
So Scooter and his wife offered to host the class at their house so that we didn't have to take a break from the class for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
as far as we were concerned, it was just another house.
Yeah, we didn't know it was who they were. They were just another family.
It's not like the email address says Scooter Braun.
Right. So we just show up at their house. Now, obviously, they live in a really nice place. So obviously, we did something.
Everybody.
And in that particular group, the other house that we were at was pretty nice too. Yeah. So they could have been somebody's too. We don't really ask questions. We don't really pry. It's not really our business. We're there to offer a service to the families and the children, and that's what we do. It's not really our business to snoop around or anything. So we did that, and this class had been going on for a while already, so they were pretty familiar with us and already in the music and what we were doing. And so Scooter may have had things spinning in his head already. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe the kids actually came to the class initially, but it just wasn't Scooter and Yale.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It might have been the nanny that had brought the kids to the other class, so we would have never known.
Right.
Not that I would have ever known anyway.
Right. So then we were doing the class at their house for a while, and Scooter was there as well and participating as a dad and in his pajamas, you know. And after one of the classes there, as we were loading out our stuff, you know, he came down to the garage, and I think he may have even been giving us a hand, helping us carry some stuff out. And he said, you know, hey guys, listen, you know, my wife is pregnant again, and I've been spending a lot of time with our son, and you know, sometimes when my son is having a tough time, your music really saves me as a dad because he responds to it immediately. And because of that, I want you to know I'm a music manager, and if you ever need some free advice, you've earned yourselves a free phone call. He's like, my name is Scott Braun, and if you need anything, you know, let me know. Give me a call.
Yeah.
So we left the house, and I'm like, Scott Braun. We leave the house. I'm like, he's got a pretty big manager because this is a pretty big house, right? Yeah. So we leave the house, look on Google. I'm like, Scott Braun. And as soon as you Google Scott Braun and you see Scooter, I look him out. I'm like, Scooter Braun? Of course we know who Scooter Braun is, you know?
But these are industry insiders. Well, not so much for Scooter because he's a celebrity himself. Right. But these are industry insiders, and we don't really know what they look like.
Right.
So we would never know who we're playing. And God, who knows how many houses we've been playing in for years and that we don't know.
That's the thing too. And since then, I mean, Scooter and everything changed, and social media, everything. Even since then, like,
oh yeah,
Scooter has like such more of a celebrity face now since then. And at that time, like, Scooter's face wasn't such a present face. It was more his name that was a thing, right? And we always say this, but like, it's very obvious when Justin Timberlake is sitting in front of you, because you know Justin Timberlake, right? But you don't know when Justin Timberlake's agent is sitting in front of you. And Justin Timberlake's agent can probably help you out a lot more than Justin Timberlake. And that's the difference. And when you're playing in these circles that we play in, yeah, it's great to play for Justin Timberlake. We love that. And man, I mean, it's like a highlight for us. But at the same time, when you're playing for his agent and his agent approaches you, that's really exciting because his agent can really help you out, you know? But you don't know it. You don't know who his agent is because those aren't people who like you readily recognize. So Scooter approached us, and you know, he offered us some free advice, and you know, time went on, and they continued with this class that we were in.
Yeah.
The relationship continued to grow, and we ended up asking for some advice, and by that time, Scooter's wheels had been turning, and
I mean, the funny thing is that, like, you know, anybody approached us at that point, but we felt like at that moment, like, we got a career. Like that's cool. We want to talk to everybody. The door's always open. Who knows where this brand could go? But we had a good career. We finally made it as musicians. We weren't necessarily in need, you know, to find industry moguls and try and take our business to the next level. Although we just eventually decided we did, but we were happy. So it wasn't like an immediate thing. Okay, well, let's set a meeting right now.
Right.
It percolated. Right, just like everything with this business really percolated. It took a minute for us to realize, okay, well, what direction do we want to go in? And then, for Scooter, it never stopped percolating. Yeah, and it was clear because he was persistent.
Yeah, and he really saw a bigger picture for what we could do. And when we sat down and we eventually started talking about it, our visions really aligned for what that bigger picture was. And Scooter really felt like he knew how to execute on that bigger picture while we continued to really hammer home our local business what we were doing. Yeah. And that was really the game plan. It was kind of like, you guys do this and keep doing what you're doing. Let me try to figure out how to take this vision that we both have of what this bigger picture is and how to figure out how to run with that. Yeah. And, you know, he was very clear with us. He was like, you know, nothing's going to happen for like a year to a year and a half. I'm going to set up some runway, and then we're going to hit the ground running, and kind of where we're at right now.
It was nice, though, because, I mean, he's an entrepreneur, and he saw the beauty in what we were able to do in such a short amount of time in developing a business in this intense market of LA, which is tough to break.
Yeah.
So I think he came from a sense of respect and from a sense of the fact that his kid does genuinely enjoy the music. So it wasn't like someone trying to cherry pick these guys because they got a huge career ahead of them and I want to be a part of it from the money perspective. It didn't seem like that at all. And I don't feel that that's in his mind even at this point. But the goal is that this brand, we uniformly believe that this brand can be big, and it deserves to be big so that we can get all the kids on board with the music.
And that was something that always resonated, I think, very strongly with us, is that he and his kids were really big fans. And that resonated so strongly with us.
Yeah, years and years of talking to agents in the old days.
Yeah.
And just blowing smoke. And, you know, we finally took matters into our own hands.
Yeah.
Developed a career. You know, we can raise families, have homes. So we didn't need that. But Scooter came from a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
And we respected that. And we're like, well, if this amazing business mogul, media mogul, is telling us that he has a vision for us, which we had a side vision brewing as well. But, you know, we're creative types. So to bring those things to fruition is a little difficult for us while we're immersed in all these gigs. But to have Scooter Braun, we were like, whoa, Scooter Braun over here working the bigger picture. Johnny and I are working the grassroots, networking and making family, making community through our music together. Magic.
And he's a fan who has kids, who understands the brand, who, I mean, it all really made sense. You're looking at it.
It came from this. I mean, we got this logo back, and we took one look at it. We're like, wow, like, you know, we're doing the music, and we're having a good time, you know, hearing the music and doing interactive performances, but like, we see a visual component to this.
Yeah. So we did a book.
Yeah, right. We did a book first where we could take these characters and lay them out on the pages and really see them come to life, and it actually did come to life.
Yeah.
But we knew that, like, no, there's something more.
Yeah.
And our personalities are so yin and yang. Just everything about the B-Buds is just so yin and yang that it just is so interesting. Right? I have the beard, John doesn't. I have the backwards hat, John has the forwards hat. I'm stockier, he's skinnier. He's taller, I'm shorter. So many of these things that we felt led themselves to a visual approach. And that was what was brewing in our mind the whole time. Did we ever really feel like we could actually bring it to fruition? Not really until Scooter.
Right.
But that's where it started. That's where the idea started.
And that's where, you know, it's great that this is your follow-up question to the previous one, because that's where the visions really aligned, because we saw this, and then, you know, when we met with Scooter, that was his vision as well. But, you know, for us, as we said, you know, we were so immersed in all these gigs. At that time, we're doing, you know, 100 gigs a month. Like, you don't really have perspective on how to achieve that, you know, without having some help. And then, you know, we talk to someone like Scooter, and he's like, that's where I come in, you know? And so, and that's kind of how it all came to be, you know? And there was also, you know, this weird set of circumstances also with Nickelodeon as well, and
playing for people that we didn't, once again, playing in people's homes that we didn't know. So the seed had been planted early on.
Right. And
which was magical.
Yeah, really magical set of circumstances. Like you said, right? You never know who you play for and who you're in line with at coffee and that kind of stuff. So, you know, when we had our meeting at Nickelodeon, can I tell a story? I love telling the story.
Sure.
Okay, so we had our meeting at Nickelodeon. We go in there. You know, Maddie and I are music guys.
I'm like, whoa, look, he's gonna get slimed right there, you know, or like, you know, or statues of like SpongeBob, or like, you know, walking around like totally at Disneyland.
Oh,
like,
it's so
looking
great.
around.
It's so great, man.
Nickelodeon.
We're sitting at this huge board table talking about this TV show. Like, once we know what we want, how we want to pitch, and what we think our vision of our show is, right? Big board table with all these Nickelodeon executives. You know, me and Matt. Right?
We got our shirts on because we just came from a gig, so it's no different than if you were working for Nickelodeon.
We're sitting there, we're talking about the show. We're one eye on the crafts food services table.
I know, I'm like looking around like
it's just so great, you know. And we're telling them about this show that we want to do to like people who have created like some of the most iconic shows that have ever been, from like SpongeBob to Rugrats to all this other stuff. And we're telling them about this show that we think we want to create and how we want to do it, you know. Anyway, when we're done with our pitch,
and they're listening to us too.
They are.
That's the beautiful thing, is like they respected what we did, and you can't deny that.
It was really great, and we just got such a kick out of the fact that, like, how did we get here? I remember sitting at that table thinking to ourselves, like, how did us two get here, you know? But it was just so amazing, and we had a bunch of meetings kind of lined up, but Nickelodeon was really our first one. It was our first choice for our first network that we wanted to go to, because we thought that was a really great destination for where we could see this show land for our music.
And what they needed to as a network.
Yeah, and it was just it was our first meeting, right? It was where we saw this show. And so we do this meeting, and after we finish with our pitch, you know, everyone's talking. Our managers are talking, and the executives are all talking. And Matt and I starting to get lost really quick because this is
technical stuff.
This is not our wheelhouse anymore, and we don't know what's happening. You know, we ended up leaving the meeting, and we start heading down the elevator. And while we're in the elevator with our managers, you know, we looked at one of them, and we say to ourselves, we say to them, you know, so what do we do next? You know, do we line up our next meeting, or do we wait to hear from Nickelodeon first? Like, what goes on now? And they go, guys, we sold the show. We looked at each other, and we were like, what? When did that happen? Like, it totally went over our heads. We missed this moment that, like, we wanted to hold on to for the rest of our lives.
We've been waiting for that moment since we were kids.
Yeah,
trying to make it in a rock band.
You know, like that you could, you know, just hold on to and say to yourselves, that was the moment that changed our careers forever. Yeah. Like, totally went over our heads.
Looking for a statement from Nickelodeon that says, let's do it. And it really wasn't that, you know, in a way. In a way, that's what we envisioned.
Yeah.
You know?
But it was great because, you know, like I said, it was kind of like our dream network that we wanted to go to, and it was our first choice for a pitch, and that's where we landed. So
yeah.
Didn't take another meeting after that. That was it.
Long story short, I mean, once again, it goes back to the idea that we had been pounding the pavement. The Beat Buds had been pounding the pavement for years prior to this, playing in everybody's household. So believe it or not, even in that meeting, people had seen us perform a birthday party and saw what we were about and knew what we were about. So there was a buzz going on even before we approached that meeting. You know, we're humble guys, so like we try to stay that way just so that we can always, you know, deliver the best quality stuff and never get an ego and just always know that, like, we're so grateful to be able to be in this position. So there was obviously some foundation that happened before we got into that meeting, and they liked the Maddie and Johnny story, and you know, it's an important story, and it's a story we want to tell with our adventures and in the world and learning together as kids the way we did. So once again, trying to make it exactly part of the story that we've created with this business.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.